Hi there, welcome back to another Small Rambles video with me, Tove Allen, writer and mental health advocate. I'm also one half of the BARROW Podcast, the show I'm doing with my mum, where we talk about divorce, dysfunctional families and mental illness while attempting to write our memoir together. In the last video I talked about something I saw, which was something really simple. I saw a guy jump in the back of a truck who was about my age, and it was this demonstration of agility that, it really captured my attention because it reminded me of a few things. It reminded me of the physical body I'm in that doesn't feel particularly agile at the moment anyway, but also agility in terms of mental and emotional agility, which I don't feel very, to use a word I don't love, I don't feel very fluid or sort of like capable of change and of taking life on. I feel very much like I have my blinkers on and I'm going just this one road, down this one road. And that's got to do with the project that I'm involved in doing, which is, dredging up the past, re-traumatizing yourself is part of that. And I'll speak about that eventually, I'm sure. But staying inside a project that is this heavy emotionally, it's exhausting. And I spoke last time about feeling emotionally fatigued, burned out, and also bored. Boredom and emotional fatigue, those two things, when you've got them together, it's a deadly combination. And certainly because, I took 12 months off drinking, which turns out was probably a good thing, because I think had I not had that goal of going 12 months without alcohol, I would have drank. I would have been susceptible to using alcohol as a crutch again. Something else that I might talk about in time. But basically, I wanted to say that, I want to, or perhaps I miss feeling my own age. That's what this man jumping onto the back of that truck represented to me. Somebody who was alive, lively, who had something going, and who was, I use the word agile, he was his own age. It represented a kind of a youthfulness or something. And it got me reflecting on, what I have and have not done. And it also got me reflecting on agility versus decrepitude, age, youthfulness versus decay. And I suppose in a broader context, it also got me thinking about why I haven't done certain things, and my insecurity about having not done certain things. So I've talked many times about narratives, talk about it a lot on the show I do with mum, but I've talked about it in this space as well. And I think in life, we all want to fit the narrative, whatever the narratives we grow up in are. They kind of get mythologized for us, and we want to conform to them. And sort of in addition to that, this also got me thinking about conformism versus relatability, but I'll get to that in time. But for right now, I just wanted to say that things I haven't done, I've never worked, and I'm quite embarrassed to admit this, I've never worked in retail or hospitality. I did tutoring work, and that was how I made money when I was younger, and I worked in a call center. But I don't have, I never worked in a shop front that was like public facing. I never worked behind a bar. And so I haven't really had those experiences that you think of young people having, where they're, pulling pints and going out partying. Perhaps, I don't know, I have that association with hospitality. And, these industries can be terrible ones to work in, but I haven't done that. I've never lived overseas, and I knew a lot of people who went away and had those gap year sort of experiences, or they went on exchange and all that sort of stuff. I never did anything like that. I never dated in my 20s. I never really dated at all. I got into a long-term relationship that, I had throughout my entire 20s. And because of that relationship as well, I never lived in a share house. So I never moved out of home with a bunch of friends. I didn't have a bunch of friends to move out with. But, I was raised in a particular way that, and ended up on a trajectory and a life path that, didn't tick any of those relatable boxes. And I hear so many people talk about, like, when I worked at a pub, or when I worked in retail, that's what they did when they were young, those kind of years living in a share house with friends, or moving overseas for a year, or going on exchange, or there's all these things. And a lot of those narratives are very middle class as well. Like, they exclude the fact that, like, people have to, like, get a job. They don't go to university. They don't have a gap year. They don't do these things. And with the economy being the way it is now, I mean, fewer people perhaps will get to do those things. But I saw this man jump on the back of that truck. I thought about agility. I thought about decrepitude. I thought about age. And I got to thinking about this conformism versus relatability. Now, I don't want to have done those things to conform to this narrative of, a youthful, wild, abandon, sort of memories of being wild and young and free. I don't have those memories. But I also wouldn't mind having had some of those experiences and being in possession of some of those memories, for the fact that it makes relating to others simpler, right? It's not about conforming. It's about being somebody who can relate to others and who others can relate to, which helps you generate your sociability. And guess what? That sociability and that relatability will help you generate more life experiences. Unfortunately for me, and there's plenty of other people like me, I didn't have those kinds of experiences. I stayed in a much narrower lane, and it has perpetuated over time that narrower lane has remained quite narrow. And I feel excluded. I feel a little cut off from life and cut off from things that, I have observed other people having had. And this isn't self-pity. It was just sort of more like, I want to be living. I want to be more in life. And the reason I'm having these thoughts and the reason I'm going on this particular ramble is because doing this project and the work that I've been engaged with has really brought up a clearer vision for myself in the future, which is a really good thing. I'm like, well, what do I want? And I want to live. I want to live in the world, and I wonder, it's crossed my mind more recently. I'm like, I might be a little older, but, I kind of wouldn't mind having those experiences now. Like, I wouldn't mind moving into a share house. I wouldn't mind, just taking a part-time job that, isn't important to my career, so-called, and, doing things that I never really got the opportunity to do. It feels weird, and perhaps I'm a little self-conscious about maybe doing them at a point in my life when I should be doing something else. But I'm actually, despite being emotionally fatigued and burned out and quite bored, I'm actually really looking forward to giving myself the opportunity to do what I want moving forward without worrying about my age or my, what I should be doing, and my career and my this and my that. I'm like, no, I just want to have some experiences. I just want to I just want to live. And so that's a good thing. Please leave a comment if you can relate to this and you want to kind of like talk more about this or share your own experiences. One of the most profound experiences I had was like meeting a guy who said to me flat out, he was like, I left school when I was 16. I worked. All I did was work. I never dated anyone. I've never had other relationships. I've never been overseas. I've never, and yet the narratives floating around is that we've all done these things. And he said to me, it's like, it's completely middle class and I don't relate to any of it, and those weren't my experiences of life at all. And I remember saying, yeah, me neither. And that was actually, it was like comforting to know that. So if you find this like comforting to hear, and maybe you feel like you're on a path that's maybe a little out of alignment with your age or demographic, yeah, leave a comment. Would love to hear about that. And as always, if you like this, you'll definitely like the Barrow podcast. So check it out. Links in the description, and you can watch unedited video editions right here on YouTube. Bye.